I've heard rumors that like actually the people in the White House and Kamala Harris's staff hate each other. Like Joe Biden didn't trust her.
Capulets and the Montagues?
Yeah, exactly. But Biden didn't believe in her. Like he didn't believe that she could do the job. He didn't believe that she'd be able to run an effective campaign. And honestly, if she does manage to pull it out, it's only because the American people didn't get to know her. It's because they managed to avoid getting her in front of people. Like she refused to do the Joe Rogan podcast the way that Rogan normally does it because she can't stand up to the scrutiny of having a conversation.
I couldn't find it on New York Times, but The Hill has, what if Joe Biden was the better candidate?
Maybe it was The Hill, yeah.
Yeah. And he was.
Well,
that is true.
I don't think,
and that's bad because he's not good.
He's not
but it's interesting that articles like this are coming out where it's a little bit.
Yeah. I mean,
already
at some point they're going to have to admit it to themselves that she's not a good candidate at all. But with Joe, there have been moments where I felt maybe he's trying to sabotage her. I even did a cartoon about it. But ultimately, with this particular gaffe, it just was too off the cuff.
I don't think this was a 5D chess move.
Yeah, exactly. It was clearly Biden stumbling over his words. And part of what I think is so funny about him is he just says and does things that aren't normal for any president. And he thinks because Trump came before him and was kind of brash that he can get away with it, but he can't. It doesn't come off as funny. It just comes off as mean when Biden does it. Are you talking about
supporting the KKK member, Byrd, when he was...
No, that is also a fair point. But just like calling American citizens garbage.
Biden objectively has been a little funner in the last little while.
Well, listen, but
like
not
at the end of his
purpose.
campaign, he has been a little bit funner.
He put a MAGA hat on.
That's true. It works a little bit for him.
Yeah, he's doing funny bits.
Yeah, he called these people. He called Trump supporters garbage because he doesn't care anymore. Did you see the Axios? I think it was Axios leaks where they said that he keeps pitching campaigning with Kamala, but they keep ignoring him.
Oh my gosh, that's
so
hilarious.
he said
he was on the beach.
So on the what?
On the beach, like he takes a lot of beach days.
No, he was going to Pittsburgh. He said that he's going to go campaign. He wants to campaign in PA for Kamala Harris. They ignored him. So then he said he's going to go campaign solo in Pittsburgh. And they were like, please, Joe, don't do this.
Harris had actually...
As if like he's saying like, I'm going to go campaign for you. And they're like, no, stop, don't.
The Harris campaign last week, Harris campaign put out a list of the surrogates that were going to be out speaking on her behalf that weekend, and Joe Biden was not on the list. He's the president. If they actually got along and they actually had a good relationship,
how is he not at the rally?
Always would want the president. You always want that. The president is... Up until Joe Biden, in this particular case, the president has been the most powerful person in the world. They bring the bully puppet that only the president has.
They're just like, listen, Joe, you can do 30 seconds between Eminem and
they won't even
Obama.
They won't even talk about him, and they won't even let him go out and address her crowds, which is it speaks volumes about.
Well, I guess part of it is they're like trying to separate her from him, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't help for him to be there.
I also think part of it is that they know that he's going to stumble around and gaffe and look really bad if he does anything publicly. I think they're just afraid of letting him be.
But doesn't that give her more credibility? Doesn't it make it? It's a good idea that she took his place.
Well, no, because then it's like, why hasn't she invoked the 25th Amendment, and why has she lied to us about?
I feel like that.
State?
I mean, maybe, but I feel like that question's always present, whether or not he's on stage gaffing or not. I feel like everybody on the conservative side has asked that question. Everyone on the conservative side makes the point. Look, she should have. It's not an option for the vice president. It is their obligation to invoke the 25th Amendment if the president can't. But she knew that the only way that she could become the candidate was to not invoke the 25th Amendment and do it after so that way they had a short amount of time so they could install her as opposed to having an actual nomination.
I get what you're saying. I think it's a bad look for her. I think her campaign's embarrassed by him.
Oh yeah,
I don't even know if it's bad blood or if it's just them being really mad.
Well, this is them desperately trying to. So here's why I say sabotage.
Do you think she should have done the Rogan podcast?
Oh,
well,
dude, she would have been.
She can't
really
handle
bad.
it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, should she? If she could do it, yes.
Have.
It is a little wild the extent to which podcasts have become, so important in this election.
The thing is,
because younger people want to hear a real conversation.
Agreed.
And so, I mean, that's why I say what I loved the most about the Trump-Rogan podcast was when they talked about fighting, because that was the one time it really felt like two dudes just hanging out. And a lot of the earlier stuff in the Rogan show was very political, asking questions. What was it like? What did you think was going to happen? Then when they're talking about fighters, it was like everything tuned out. And these are two guys that were into boxing and MMA talking about it.
Yeah, I guess that's with podcasts. You can do all the stuff in one episode.
Yep.
It can't be overstated that the people that she needs to attract are Joe Rogan's audience.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like listen, everybody knows that if you're worried about abortion, Kamala Harris is the one you're going to vote for. Everybody knows. She doesn't have to go out there and continue to hammer home abortion. Everyone that is concerned about having abortion be legal.
But if you make that argument, couldn't you make that argument for Trump where you're like, you should be doing call her daddy and stuff?
I mean, maybe. But I think you could. Maybe
probably not as much of an option.
Yeah, well, also
No. Hold on.
It's not as
He
big a
did go to the
podcast.
the National Association of Black Journalists.
You're right. He has done that stuff.
he does go.
And it was amazing. It
was great.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
When he was just like snapping back at him, like how rude.
He's gone into the Dragon's Den a lot more. Yeah.
multiple times. He goes.
But when he was at the National Association,
His own
of Black
debates are a bit of a
Journalists,
Dragon's Den.
he gets this attack line, these questions that are insulting, and he goes, "Well, I'll start by saying how rude. I've never been asked such rude questions." And he doesn't care. He's like, I'm just gonna say it. People like him. That's why they like it.
But it's not like Rogan would be some attack interview anyway. It would be the exact same treatment as Trump.
Well,
But the truth is on Rogan's side and Trump's side.
Yeah.
yes.
Kamala Harris, not so much.
I retweeted the interaction between Sanjay Gupta and Joe Rogan after the COVID stuff when he was confronting Sanjay Gupta about the way that CNN doctored the video of Rogan, how they said that he was taking horse medicine, and it was very confrontational. And I can imagine that being the case with Kamala Harris. Now, obviously, it wouldn't be quite as personal because they were attacking Joe. CNN was attacking Joe, and so he was looking at Sanjay Gupta as the representative of CNN. But he pushed back on things that Trump said, and that's his MO. So if Kamala Harris says something, she might try to do the same thing that she did with Bret Baier when she was like, "You know what I mean," and Bret Baier was like, "No, I don't. I'm not going to throw you a line. You have to get out of this yourself." And that's probably how Rogan would be as well. He might be kind, he might be polite, but he's still going to be like, look, if you can't answer it, that's your problem, not mine.
Well, also, I mean, she and her campaign know that she can't speak for 3 hours straight without making a complete and total fool out of herself. She just trails off. She doesn't know what she's saying. None of her talking points are prepared. She has to look at a teleprompter. When she does deliver any opinion that appears to have any level of insight, it's clearly rehearsed. So the whole reason for them making these demands is because they knew that Joe wasn't going to acquiesce, and they wanted an excuse for her to not do the show. And I think the way her
the other side of that is they might not realize the leverage has changed where you go, this isn't, a bunch of streamers.
They wanted to say no, but they can't. So they created impossible terms that Joe could not agree to so that they can say, now the media is reporting Joe Rogan turned her down.
Exactly.
That is possible, but they also might, in addition to that, be like, well, he'll agree to our terms.
She flew to call her daddy.
Yep.
Well,
she flew to call her daddy?
Yeah, she went on set for Call Her Daddy, but when it came to Joe Rogan, she says, here
And also Shannon Sharp.
That's right.
And both those are smaller.
And Breakfast Club.
Yeah, that's a good point. Those are way smaller.
She flew to all of them, but when it came to Rogan, she said, you come to me.
Yeah.
and only do an hour-long show.
Yep. And Joe was like, that's not the show. I don't do that.
That's not what we do.
Her support of Biden is disingenuous. Like, I think if she had invoked the 25th Amendment, taken over in command, she'd be a legit candidate right now. And because Trump, Rogan would ask her about Biden's mental state and why she doesn't just talk about it openly, and she'd be like, she couldn't. She's put herself in a position where she's not able to admit that he's gone frail.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.